Inputs alone determine profit. Does that sound right to you? Due to the high cost of feed for poultry, there is continuous pressure to formulate least cost diets that meet nutritional requirements. Least cost feed formulation focuses on inputs to achieve the nutritional requirements of a bird. Thus essentially assumes that inputs determine profits. That means feed input equals cash output. Something's not right here. We're definitely missing a few things. So this is why my co-authors and I, supported by Australian Eggs, decided to explore possible alternative feed formulation strategies beyond the least cost model with a focus on layers. So if you haven't guessed by my accent yet, I'm Australian, and the Australian layer industry is currently experiencing particularly volatile changes in egg price. So we're seeing lots of challenges, such as feed shortage or supply chain issues due to the drought, bushfires, and now disease. So in this type of market, any savings we can make to our poultry businesses is critical. So we saw a least cost model appeared to be missing quite a few things. However, a max profit model considers both the inputs and the outputs, and by doing so gives us much more flexibility. So your outputs is essentially your eggs and also a tiny bit of income from spent hen sales. The inputs represent fixed and variable costs, and that covers things like your hens, the stars of the show, and also things like egg cartons, feed, utilities, workers, insurance, that sort of thing. And finally, the outputs minus the inputs gives you your profits. So in a least cost feed formulation, you make a diet to meet nutrient requirements as cheaply as possible. And by doing this, you don't take into account the outputs or inputs other than the feed. So we can see that there's certainly a lot missing from this equation. So then, does least cost feed formulation based off nutrient requirements generate a diet that will also satisfy the economic optimum? Well, not necessarily. So by considering outputs, we can stray away from a single nutrient requirement value and instead think in terms of nutrient response rather than nutrient requirement. What response will a layer have as I increase or decrease the protein level of the diet? Which point will be the most economical in the present market? It is this flexibility that is provided by a max profit approach that is a real advantage for producers in comparison to least cost models. So let's take a look at an example. So in this example I'm about to show you, we're going to explore the most economical dietary methionine level by simulating a flock offered 5 diets with graded methionine levels. So we're focusing on methionine in this example because it's an expensive dietary component, but it also has really important implications on egg size. Okay, so to simulate the performance of these birds at 5 different dietary methionine levels that you see on the screen, we sourced data from a paper, Bregendal et al. 2008. So we use this paper because they report performance and egg production from layers offered diets ranging in true digestible methionine from 0.13% through to 0.6%. And the standard level in an industry diet is going to be represented by the 0.48% level. That's the level that would be formulated under a least cost feed formulation. So looking at the birds' reported intake, we can see that the diet cost of the 0.6% methionine level was more expensive than the 0.48% standard industry level. But the birds did eat less on the 0.6% methionine level. So not only did the birds eat less at that 0.6% dietary methionine level, but they also sustained egg production in comparison with the 0.48% industry level that would be generated from a least cost feed formulation. So they were therefore more efficient on the 0.6% dietary methionine. So from these figures, we can then calculate what the profitability of each methionine level would be if it was fed to a flock of 20,000 hens over the 6-week period that this data from Bregadal et al. 2008 refers to. So the total profits in this example are equal to the income from the egg sale and spent hens minus the cost of the diets, packaging, pullets, and other costs such as labour, insurance, and utilities. So we calculated what these costs would be for each methionine level using the industry data and prices as a guide. So again, you can see that the same amount of eggs is predicted to be produced between the 0.6 and 0.48 dietary methionine levels. However, due to the reduced intake resulting from the improved efficiency of the birds off at the 0.6% dietary methionine level, their overall diet cost is less, despite the diet itself costing $4 per tonne more. And so from this data, we determined that the greatest profit of 34,830 Australian dollars over the 6-week simulation may be achieved with the 0.6% dietary methionine level. So this diet was $4 per tonne more expensive than that of the least cost model at 0.48% dietary methionine, but it generated a total of $186 more profit over that 6-week period due to the reduced feed intake of birds fed the 0.6% dietary methionine level compared to those fed the 0.48% dietary methionine level. So therefore, max profit diet formulation allows more economically sustainable and flexible diets than least cost feed formulation, which could generate big profits for industry. But there are some barriers which may be preventing uptake of this method within industry. So at least in Australia, some improvement will likely be required in the collection of production and market data, and likely as producers better understand how their hens may respond to different dietary specifications, the opportunity will also arise to choose a set of specification that results in maximum profits for their unique situations and businesses. And to help predict the response of hens to a range of nutrient levels so that they can work out what would be the most profitable for their unique situation, more modelling research would really be helpful, including the development of more sophisticated approaches to integrate biological performance with economic models to make sure that we get a program or methodology that is easy for producers to use on a day-to-day basis. So thank you all very much for your attention, and I'd also like to thank Australian Eggs for their support of this project. If anyone has any questions or would like to discuss this concept further, please send me an email at amoss22@une.edu.au. Thank you.